Welcome, guys. Today we're going to talk about antivirus evasion. I'm going to use a tool called Veil, previously known as Veil Evasion. That's the way you use it in the current version, while in the previous one called Veil Evasion, it was a little bit like a Metasploitish interface. Now you need to use a command like this, and I used a Meterpreter reverse TCP payload with a local port 5600 TCP. You see that a payload has been generated here. The previous version didn't create a payload, and that's why they suggest you to use Veil 3 now. You see that we created an executable called game.exe and also a Python and a Ruby file. Now we're going to use the executable to hack our Windows 10 virtual machine on the other end. So the first thing we want to do is to copy this output file stored in this directory. To the directory of our Apache web server. Okay, that's done. Now all we need to do is go to the other end in our Windows 10 virtual machine and connect through the browser to Kali in order to run this executable. That's explainable because I didn't start actually Apache server. I forgot about that. I was supposed to do it before connecting through the web browser, but I forgot. So we can now actually refresh the page. Now you notice a warning, but that's no big deal. Most people will go through this warning regardless, and I attempted with other tools, and in any case this file was picked up as malware, so that's only a warning, but it doesn't block the execution of the file, and it doesn't detect it as malware, which is really way better than what I experienced with other tools. I assure you that most people will go through the warning, and on the other end, you can use social engineering techniques to persuade them in order to ignore that type of warning, saying, don't worry about it, it's nothing wrong, and blah blah blah, and stuff like this. Okay, now we need to set up a handler in order to pick up the reverse connection from the victim machine. I already explained to you that the Metasploit has this special exploit called multi-handler, which doesn't do anything, but we simply attach a reverse shell payload so we can have a Meterpreter session with the victim machine. The only thing you need to be extremely careful here is the two options, localhost and local port, which have to match exactly with what you did for the previous payload. I mean, for the options you set up with Veil. Otherwise, you won't have any success with this. Alright. Let's now run that file. And at the same time start our exploit. You see our handler is waiting for a connection. And all we need to do is run the exploit here, this file. And you see that no warning pops up. This is good. And we immediately have a interpreter session. So we're pretty good. The only thing we need to make sure is to have administrative privileges, but we're a local user now. The problem we have with Windows 10 even more than with Windows 7 is that this technique doesn't work. You need to use other exploits to reach the same goal. And normally I'm pretty successful with this, and the problem in fact is caused by the UAC, or User Access Control, introduced in Windows 7. Here we only had to set up a parameter called session. I'm going to set it up to 1. And we need to attach a payload, which will be our usual payload. Of course, that's the most powerful in my opinion, but there's more than that. That goes without saying. Once again, we need to make sure we stick to the same settings as we did before. Same local host and same local port. And we're not lucky because this exploit doesn't work against Windows 10. Let's get a little more information about this system. We notice we have a Windows 10 64-bit version. Anyway, I performed some research and I found another exploit that should work against Windows 10 and should guarantee us a privilege escalation. Oh, sorry, I pasted the wrong thing here. So let's use this exploit called bypass FUD helper. You see, it only has one option, the session parameter, which we're going to set up to 1. And here I was making a mistake. We don't need any actual payload here. We simply need to run the exploit the way it is, because we already have an interpreter session which I backgrounded, so we don't need another one. Alright, let's see how it goes. You see that our user we're currently logged down belongs to the administrators group. This is very important, otherwise this exploit wouldn't work. Because in order to get a privilege escalation to system administrators, we need to belong to the local administrators group. You see that nothing seems to be going on Windows 10, but we have another session open. And for some reasons, I can't interact with it, probably because I'm already in there. I had a brain fart here, sorry. I was already in the session. I don't know why. I was trying to get within the session I was already in. It came back to me later. Okay, anyway, you see that I'm this user here, but now the get system technique works. in this case. And now we're the system administrator. However, I can't dump the password hashes. I made some research about that, and I found out that in order for us to do that, we need to be logged in as a process that's already there when Windows starts, so a process having a higher priority. So I'm going to carefully choose a process belonging to system authority to migrate to. And with PS, we can see the list of the processes currently running on our machine and the user they belong to. So I chose, ironically, to migrate to Windows Defender. It's pretty cool. And so at this point I can dump the password hashes. I have the right priority, so I can access it. Let's save into a text file by using leafpad. Okay, this is good. Now if I pop a Windows shell, we can do something a little more on a deep level in our Windows system. But first of all, I can add a new user from command line with this command. Net command is very powerful, and you should know it like the back of your hand. You see that we added a new user called hacker. Let's grab another time our password hashes because I added a new user to the system. So let's overwrite the previous file so we have all the users we created on the system. And this time let's save it. I'm gonna call it Windows 10 hashes.txt. Alright. So we exploited our system and could finally successfully achieve a privilege escalation. But we can also investigate more on the system. We see we have essentially two users. We can also have more granular information about each individual user. My virtual machine got pretty much stuck while I was running this command. The system info command is very useful. It gives us detailed information about the system, including the installed hotfixes and the network cards and a bunch of other information. You see that we have all users included in the system with the local groups they belong to. You see that the user we created, hacker, belongs to the users group, not to the administrators group. This is something we want to rectify, probably. in order to give him more possibility to wreak havoc. And anyway, we're the system administrator, so we can do pretty much whatever we want on this machine. We can add the new user hacker to the administrator's local group through this command. So now we check the properties for the user hacker. We see that he belongs to administrators group. Alright, so that's all for today. Have a good one.